I had a health crisis that just completely took me to my knees, just rocked my world. And if I hadn't just changed my paradigm, my life choices, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I'm thriving. I feel amazing. I have tons and tons of energy. Hey guys, I have an incredible guest with me today. He is a gentleman that I have leaned on for so many years in my quest to only provide the world's best supplements, proteins, nutrient-infused protein powders, anything with my name on it. I've really leaned on him to procure ingredients globally that are tested, researched, tested again, potent, and the best that I can possibly get my hands on. We've had a very long relationship. It's been really fun at times. He's probably also been very frustrated with me at times because of my relentless quest to have the world's best products. So you guys, I know you're going to love this conversation. It's going to be all about what is in the metabolism shake, why it's so special. And this is going to be a conversation that helps you understand why when you consume the shake, you feel tremendously changed. So today I have the most incredible individual that I've had just this amazing opportunity to work with. He's here with me today and someone that I have leaned on for years when I'm working on either formulating a product, bringing in individuals to help formulate the product, sourcing raw ingredients, and having supplementation that actually is worthy of my clients, my consumers, you guys, my community, of myself, of my family. Thank you so much for being here today and taking this time to kind of talk with my community about the world of supplementation. And specifically, I want to focus on the metabolism shake today.
Thanks for having me, Haylie. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Can you just share with my community a little bit about how you came to be in this world, in this space, and the calling that it's had for you and some of your experience?
Yeah, I started in this industry about 24 years ago, and this industry's changed a lot, and for the better, I think, but also for the worse, I guess. And so my role is really partnering with biotech companies throughout the world, but primarily in Europe, to bring innovative, new human clinically researched materials into the health and wellness space, specifically the nutraceutical space, specifically the prescriptive nutraceutical space, which is where you reside. And so we're able to bring innovative and interesting and clean and clinically researched and clinically valid ingredients into a space that people maybe didn't even know that existed. And so it's really exciting, and partnering with you and bringing those ingredients to your group is fantastic and exciting for us.
Well, we love and adore you and really enjoy working with you in this thing. And one of my babies, I call it my baby, is the metabolism shake. And we have had, I don't know how many conversations about the raw ingredients that are in there and why it's so important to me and how much you value that importance. And it's really always, I look at the consumer, I look at myself consuming it, the kids consuming it, my clinical clients consuming it, and all of the people that purchase the metabolism shake in our world, right? And I just want to take 2 seconds on behalf of everybody in my community and thank you so much for not only respecting how neurotic that I am about it, but also finding you in innovative ways and pushing me to even make things better than I ever dreamed of. So I'm hoping today to ask you a lot of questions, and if you can kind of work with me about how special the metabolism shake is. It's changed lives. We use it in our 5-day cleanse and our 10-day cleanse and our metabolism revolution. We use it in our pain and anti-inflammatory nutritional protocol. My kids take a shake every morning. I take a shake when I travel, especially. I never don't have a shake. So I want to talk about the metabolism shake specifically. We have a really broad offering to our consumer, but the metabolism shake has kind of been our hero product. And I want to dissect this product a little bit so that we can feature how incredibly special it is, because I think sometimes we don't do a really great job of expressing all of the efforts that we put into this product. And I know you and I have so much conversation about it. So I'd love to just kind of start with, there's a million protein powders on the market. You see them for sale everywhere from Costco to Whole Foods. And why is ours special? And why should someone utilize ours over somebody else's? I know, we're neurotic about it, but I want to talk about and express to our consumer, like how and why we take such great care and why that's important in the protein world. The protein world's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the areas that companies cut costs is the quality of the protein. And the reason they do it is because high quality protein is very expensive. And Your sourcing, your cleanliness, your care for the protein is really important in selecting that. And so we bring in this protein from Belgium, and it's a high quality, doesn't have any of the yeast or anaerobic compounds that you'd see in a lot of proteins. It doesn't have lead and cadmium, doesn't have any of the heavy metals that you'd expect in vegetable-based proteins and pea-based proteins. This is a very clean, very digestible, very biologically available or absorbable form of protein, and you're not seeing it in the US market at all. And so your selection of that protein is the basis for your metabolism shake. I mean, it's the thing that sets up all of the other ingredients that are in there. And so you have the most designer protein in this space for sure.
I want to take a really quick break to get you guys some information that I think you're going to need. Hey guys, it's Haylie here. Having a hardcover copy of the Fast Metabolism Diet book can be critical to your success. It is a workbook that's going to help you get healthier today. If you don't have a book or you want to give one to a friend or one of your doctors, just go to HayliePomroy.com/free book and I'll give you a book. This is what you're going to need to get to the next level. Thank you for saying that. You said a couple things. I want people to understand that many, especially the vegetable-based proteins, there's great things about them, right? They're gluten-free, they're vegan, maybe they're soy-free, they're dairy-free, and a lot of people are using vegan-based proteins right now. But many of those, and it's perfectly legal, which is crazy to me, to distribute these protein powders that do have cadmium, lead, arsenic, molds, funguses. So we test our protein powder in a crazy way. Not only do we test it as it's coming into the country, but we third-party test it, which means ours is all of that, right? It's got all those, I'm going to say, fancy marketing aspects to it that everybody in the protein world is using, right? That's using a vegan powder right now.
Most companies just don't test, right? If you don't know what's in there, then you aren't concerned about what's in there. And so when this protein comes in before manufacturing, it's tested for pesticides, it's tested for lead, it's tested for arsenic and mercury, it's tested for aflatoxins, it's tested for lectin, it's tested for gluten. All of these things are done before manufacturing and after manufacturing to make sure that in the manufacturing process, there wasn't anything picked up in dirty machinery or in an environment that's not necessarily proper for manufacturing. And so those are third-party tests that are very, very expensive.
And we do that, though. We do that, and we don't have to do that. I have a lot of friends in this space. I know that a lot of companies, you said they don't test because they don't want to know. We're not legally required to test. The issue is that I want to know. And as you know, we get rid of a lot of stuff that we don't sell because we do third-party test. It's out the door. If it doesn't meet, we go way beyond what we have to. And we third-party test. People ask me a lot in this space. Again, I have a lot of friends over the 30 years I've been playing in this space that are in the protein powder world, right? And they think I'm absolutely crazy for testing because, like you said, it's common that these things are in there, these contaminants are in there. And if you don't know, you don't have to disclose. And if you do know, you have to destroy or meet the minimum levels, which aren't fabulous in my personal opinion. So it's not just a selfish, like with me, if I have aflatoxins, if I have heavy metals, if I have those things that I consume, I flare in my autoimmune disorder. So third-party testing actually became something that I was diligent about when I was consuming products before I was manufacturing or selling products, right? I was like, hey, show me your third-party testing or I'm not taking it. And it was shocking to me how many companies don't do it. And I would say, unfortunately, in the vegan protein powder world, there's a lot of dirty stuff being sold. I mean, it kind of bums me out, I guess I would say. But I'm always candid with you, and I'm always super transparent with my community. We don't communicate that really effectively sometimes, that we go to those great lengths. And you in particular have always just been so supportive and never hesitating to bring up a new way to test and a new way to look at cleanliness. So I love that. That is the case definitely in the protein component of the metabolism shake. But what about like in the whole food component and the greens component? How important do you feel like that third-party testing is, let's say like with the green aspect, our kale, our spirulina, our spinach, because those can be really, really dirty in the nutraceutical world.
Yeah, not only is it expensive to test those, it's inconvenient. What do I mean by inconvenient? I mean, when you get in these organic, undenatured kale and spinach and spirulina compounds, if they have mold in them, or if they were not picked at the right time, or if they don't meet spec, it's inconvenient because it holds up the entire manufacturing side.
Can I
right?
just tell you, I'm sorry for all the times and thank you for supporting my neurosis. You have been such a support for me in always wanting the best. But yeah, I know it's inconvenient. And that's why I lean on you, is because you support that diligence.
When
Yeah,
I say inconvenient, I mean it's a extra step that almost all companies do not do, because you'll have to throw away batches and materials, and
I
it
know.
becomes very costly. And so you're diligent enough and mindful enough to, when I say demand that, we provide it and you demand it, and then your consumer really gets the benefit from it.
I know. And again, I'm not just thanking you for me, I'm thanking all of my community members. I know who they are and what they're going through and the health struggles they're going through. And I really appreciate you guys supporting that, and not only supporting it, again, making it a reality for me. I know what I've set forward to do in the supplement world is not common. I understand that. And I understand that it's probably not even the smartest thing from a business perspective. We spend so much on quality, efficacy. What about potency? I mean, you and I have this conversation, and you have educated me so much in this space, but also, again, been an incredible ally. I want what says is on the label is actually in the bottle. And again, that's not happening a lot.
Well, it's twofold, really. It's what you say is in the bottle is actually in the bottle, and the second part is, are you using ingredients that are useful, right? It's not what you consume, it's what you consume and digest.
Yes.
So very importantly, we're going to meet label claim every time on the metabolism shake, because we test pre and we test post, right?
Explain that, because people don't do that. We're like in the top
Right.
0.00%. So pre means when it comes in, and post is means these bottles are caged up. Explain that process.
So at time of manufacturing, you put the raw ingredients in there, you put all the ingredients in there to meet label claim at the end, which means in some instances you put overages in. Not huge overages, but you put a little bit over so that when you are finished manufacturing, there's not any lost in manufacturing. Because this formula is so complex and there's so many micronutrients and so many minerals and protein and greens and herbs and whatnot, it's very difficult. You have to have a very creative and very succinct way of manufacturing. And so you have to make sure that the dispersion of all those ingredients disperses in such a way that when you take 2 scoops of the metabolism shake out of the canister, that it meets the label claim in front of you, right? So not just we put all these ingredients in there, it probably meets label claim at the end, but rather you test it to see if the dosing that you're using meets label claim every time. So that's the first part, right?
Right. And you've been in this space for over 20 years. How many would you say, holistically in the supplement world, how many people are doing the level of testing that we do? What percentage?
Less than 1%.
Yeah, I would agree. And thank you again for supporting me in that. You
100%.
talked, yeah, I thank you on behalf of our community. Thank you. So we've talked a lot about this formula. So you talked about being able to actually use what's in the bottle. Can we pull out some herbs, some of the amino acids, some of the things that make this so special?
100%. I think there are micronutrients in here and there are minerals in here. And that's not flashy per se, because the herbs are more of exciting, and we're certainly going to talk about those. But foundationally, when you look at things like B vitamins, most people look on the label, they say, well, does it have B1? Does it have B2? Does it have B3, B5? Does it have folate, right? Does it have B12? But what they're not really reading into as a consumer is they're not reading into what form of those B vitamins are in the bottle. So are they activated and fully capable forms of B vitamins, or are they synthetic, cheap, typically Chinese ingredients that are really not very digestible and not absorbable, and some instances quite dangerous?
Yeah.
So if you look at people's genetic makeups, some people don't metabolize certain B vitamins in a chemical format.
Right.
So if you have diabetic neuropathy and you take high levels of synthetic B6 or synthetic B5, people who have neuropathies are sensitive to synthetic forms of B vitamins, specifically B5 and B6. And so for people that are taking a medical food or a nutritional product for neuropathy, or they're taking it to get healthy and well, and they have neuropathy, if you're using synthetic forms of B vitamins, you could exacerbate the neuropathy. You could actually create a flare-up. You could make it worse.
And we see that. And we see people taking supplements and powders that makes their inflammation in general worse and slows the metabolism because of it. And so, a little behind the curtain here, when we purchase raw ingredients, like the particular type of B vitamins, folic acid that we purchase, can you give me, like we always say, the raw ingredients is 10 times, 20 times, sometimes 200 times more expensive to purchase the source that we're using. as a raw ingredient.
Sometimes thousands of times more costly. Let's use a couple of key ingredients. Folate, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Regular folic acid, synthetic folic acid, or folic acid is very, very, very cheap. Pennies,
right.
pennies. It comes generally from Asia, usually China. Doesn't provide a lot of value, but it meets label claim, right? You can write down it has 200 micrograms of folic acid in there. Or in your case, you can use a form of folate that's called quatrefolate that has 5 human clinical research studies for its ability to be absorbed and utilized, specifically in pregnancy, specifically with people who have
cardiovascular,
cardiodegenerative condition.
Yes.
Right. And so quatrefolate is 3,000 times more expensive than regular activated folate. You're paying for that scientific research, that human double-blind placebo-controlled clinical research.
And so when
your consumer can go online and look up quatrefolate and look up all the clinical research studies and how beneficial it is. And although that's only one ingredient in your shake, you're not choosing to use an inexpensive ingredient. You're choosing to use the best ingredient, even though
in the world.
Quatrefolate is the most researched and most beneficial folate in the market space.
So I want all of our community to understand that every single ingredient we go through, it's not like, is this the best product? We go through each ingredient and we look at it from a clinical expression. We look at it from what's the research, how is it consumed, how is it absorbed, and we select the best. And it is not always the smartest business decision, but it's the 100% smartest clinical decision.
It's the health decision. And it doesn't just stop with folate. You're also using riboflavin 5-phosphate. You're using an activated form of Bs. You're using activated B6 in pyridoxal 5-phosphate. You're using activated methylcobalamin, not just cheap methylcobalamin, but the actual clinical research form of methylcobalamin that comes out of Europe that's used for injectables and used for medical conditions where there's B12 deficiencies. So you're choosing to use a form of B12 that has all the clinical research on it, as opposed to just using store-bought, either synthetic B12 or just cheap methylcobalamin. So all of the B vitamins here are designer, exquisite in their own right. They could be used separately to treat many conditions for health, separately.
I know.
And you're choosing to put them all into a shake that is a designer, really high-end, exquisite formula because of those B vitamins that are in there. And maybe no one in your audience really even looked at it and said, wow, that's really different.
I know.
You're not going to see that in the market space. Nobody has all activated B vitamins in their shakes. Nobody does.
I want you to say that one more time, because one more person tries to talk me out of the madness to my method, which is to provide, I will not put my name on it if there's something else better in the market. And I appreciate you so much coming to the table and having this conversation, because nobody else is doing that. And I know why they're not doing it. It's a business decision. And
it's a business decision. And unfortunately, what they're doing is people will look on the label and the first thing they look for is B12 and they'll say, oh, it has methylcobalamin.
Yeah.
They stop there. They don't look at the folate. They don't look at the B6. They don't look at the B5. They don't look at the other B vitamins that are in there and don't look for the form of it and whether it's clinically researched. When I said nobody in the market space has this, nobody in the market space has this. This just doesn't exist.
Why, thank you. And you're not part of the business, I just want everybody to know that not all ingredients are made equal. And a lot of times manufacturers will put an ingredient on the label to make it, we call it sexy, right? To have it be a buzzword, to make it be phenomenal for marketing. That's not the intention when we're making this. Seth, I don't know if I ever shared this with you. I actually formulated this when one of my very best friends was going through metastatic breast cancer. And I was looking for something that could help her metabolic pathway.
That's real fast. Just right before you are talking about Steve, you said Seth.
Okay, so let me start this. Thank you. Good catch. Okay, you guys, we're going to start that question again. So Matthew, I don't know if I ever shared this story with you. I actually formulated this shake when one of my best girlfriends was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. And they were using all kinds of estrogen blockers, pharmaceuticals, and they could not get her estrogen levels to stabilize. She was basically in a state of what they called malnutrition because of the chemotherapeutics that she was on. And so I wanted to formulate this superfood, super enriched formula to help get her through that process and also help her body create a better homeostasis from a hormone perspective. And when you talk about the bees like this, I'm thinking of this friend of mine. I'm thinking of this person that I love so deeply and so dearly. And that's why I selected those ingredients so specifically, because I wanted to support the metabolic pathways that had gotten out of balance with her cancer, with the drugs that she was on. This went then to become this amazing shake that helped my grandmother as she was having metabolic wasting disease and not able to absorb nutrients from her gut. And with that, I'd like to talk about a couple ingredients. So my grandma was this phenomenally healthy individual. She had a major injury and she went into metabolic wasting. Basically, she was breaking down all of her protein her muscle at a very rapid rate. She wasn't as able to absorb nutrients through the gut. She went into a hyper-inflammatory state, which is what caused her to go into metabolic wasting. Her kidney values were off. She was losing weight, muscle rapidly. She started having arrhythmia in the heart. We started using this as a medical food for my grandma, and we're able to kind of help reestablish health through this. So some of that is the pre and probiotics, the turmeric. Can we talk about some of those absorption, anti-inflammatory ingredients that have called upon you to source these things? And I tell you these stories, why we've decided to put these things in.
Well, inflammation is the source of most disease. And so if you can start with that, you can start with quieting down the inflammatory cascade, you can accomplish a lot. And when you think of inflammation, don't just think of it as pain or redness. Think of it as chaos in the body that's created, right? It prevents methylation. It prevents sulfation. It creates metabolism. So if you focus on the inflammatory cascade.
It's hormone chaos, blood sugar, sex hormones. Right. I love that. It's hormone chaos.
Right. And so you want to select key micronutrients and key nutrients that will quiet down the inflammatory cascade. So the world's most expensive and the world's most human clinically researched form of curcumin or turmeric is called BCM 95.
Yes.
There's over 1,000 human clinical studies using that ingredient. And in the medical space, it's used for arthritis, it's used for neurologic disorders, it's used for arthritic conditions. You're choosing to use that ingredient that's so exquisite, over 1,000 human clinical studies, as your highlighted hero ingredient in your metabolism shake.
I know.
So you're using that form when you can use you could technically use a really cheap form of turmeric that has no clinical research and save probably $1 to $1.50 per shake, per serving.
Right. And that's cost. I know that. And I've been offered that, right? People look at our bottle all the time and they say, look, you could cut cost here and you could cut cost there. And one of them that they always go after is, you already mentioned the bees. I could cut so much cost and I could still have the same exact label. That's what's crazy about it, right? I just wouldn't notice. No one would know. No one would know.
And no one doesn't get well.
Thank you. And the community member that doesn't send us the letters that they send us, Seth. I mean, that's what fuels my whole team every day, is the emails, the letters, the gift boxes, the sweet posts and messages. But people try to always go over the product with me and tell me where I can cut costs. And the turmeric is one that I am not willing to change. I'm not willing to change anything, right? I will not do this one day if finances manage the quality of my product, period. I'm out. I won't do it.
Very important.
Yeah, it is. And again, it's Lori and it's Kathy and it's John and it's all the people, Matt, that we're touching with this. And so that particular product was what I researched, again, when my girlfriend was going through the breast cancer. And she was in such hormone chaos and they could not even pharmacologically regulate it. And I remember having that conversation and just saying, and you saying like, it's Haylie, you don't understand how expensive it is. And, people sell this in a bottle and a pill and you want to put it in your shake powder that no one's going to even know that it's in there. And I'm like, yeah, because this is going to make all the difference in someone's life. And so that's a big one for me. And it's, again, I feel like it's one of the key ingredients that helps keep my autoimmune disorder in control. And a lot of my girlfriends that have like Hashimoto's thyroiditis, that have been diagnosed with lupus, like I feel like there's such an immune modulation that happens in all those white papers, those thousands of human clinical trials that have been done on this particular product. If you read and you look at those, they're all about inflammation, autoimmunity, cancer, inflammatory cancer disease, also chronic inflammation with viral infections. There's some really great studies with chronic viral components. So I know it's crazy to put that in this. People are like, oh, I had a shake today, but do you really know what you just had? And that's important. What's another ingredient we can kind of feature and highlight? Because each and individual one of these we've talked about, and you've been both helped me from the business perspective, from the formulation perspective, and you're always so good to me and say, Haylie, are you sure? Nobody's going to know that you have that in there except for the person that gets better because of it. And I've loved those kind of conversations. So I want to bring some of those, more of those to the forefront. What's some other ones or combinations of them that are like, Haylie, you don't have to do this. Nobody's going to know. on the bottle. Nobody's going to know it from marketing, but your consumer, it's going to change their life.
When you're looking at hormone metabolism, specifically inflammatory cascades around hormone
Mhm.
metabolism, you want to attack it from a number of areas. You want to attack it through methylation, which you do with the bees. You want to attack it through sulfation, glucuronidation. You want to attack it a number of different ways, and you want to make sure that the patient is metabolizing. And so
Right.
what you've done is you've created a blend of different ingredients that primarily work in a number of cascades. And so the pomegranate that you're using is an actual pomegranate extract that has human public clinical research. That form of pomegranates in and of itself it could be a formula on its own. You're using lemon bioflavonoids. You're using quercetin, right? There's a lot of information in the news about quercetin right now. In fact, it's the hottest raw ingredient in the space. The raw ingredient costs have gone up 4,000% due to the COVID outbreak. Quercetin was one of the things that they showed that was super effective in dealing with long haulers and people who have dramatic challenges with COVID. So quercetin has always been in your formula. It's just something that we can now highlight in a way that people are recognizing and saying, wow, quercetin. I'm supposed to take 100 milligrams or 200 milligrams a day. Per serving, you're putting 250 milligrams of dihydroquercetin, one of the highest quality quercetins in the market space, into a metabolism shake that you're giving a dose that's going to be effective for dealing with long haulers, right? So that's really fantastic.
Right. And it was interesting because when I decided, and that particular quercetin, right? So I grew up with systemic eczema. I had eczema. I had severe food allergies. I would have a lot of gas and bloating after. And when I was thinking about formulating this, again, this was long before quercetin became extremely popular. But I also have reactivation viral syndrome. So I will reactivate both Epstein-Barr virus and cytomegalovirus. And I know, like, 4 years ago now, I actually had a reactivation of cytomegalovirus that ended up in a meningitis situation. And so when I formulated this and I wanted to put the quercetin in, I was looking at that antiviral reactivation, both in EBV, Epstein-Barr virus, as well as cytomegalovirus and HHS6, another strain of the herpes virus. And I know that sounds crazy, maybe, to add to an organic meal replacement shake, right? But when we're infusing the body with micronutrients and we have an inflammatory state, again, whether that's because of sex hormones, whether that's because trauma or injury, whether that's because reactivation of viral infection, whether that's because of adrenal fatigue, adrenal exhaustion, if we don't address inflammation as a metabolic pathway, it doesn't matter how expensive or how crazy I go with what ingredients I want to put in, we're not going to have the absorption and the realization of those micronutrients, and then the realization of the health trajectory. So that was a big one for me as I was kind of trying to figure out and how to formulate and I'm so glad that it was adopted during this COVID and long hauler COVID and the EBV clients. But it's really funny because we get a lot of our community that says, hey, my eczema went away, my psoriasis is under control, my joints feel better. And I'm always going, gosh, I wish we could have this conversation that we're having right now, Matt, that says, like, this is the ingredients and these are the research and studies behind it. So I appreciate you pulling that one up. Give me some others. Let's just keep, we go, this is kind of a crazy formula, but I love what we're doing because I also really believe in intention, right? And so when people understand what's in this bottle, there's a communion that happens, right, when you're consuming food. And I want you to know the love and intention and deliberateness that we put into putting it together. Our product does so much, but it supports the body better than anything else you can buy, period. I have no qualms saying that. And I'd like to go back a little bit to a couple of other ingredients that I intentionally added in there with estrogen and inflammation. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Certainly. I mean, estrogen is an inflammatory cascade that is created by the body. And the challenge is that the body does not eliminate estrogens. So it tries to metabolize it, it gets recirculated and causes inflammatory cascade challenges. So the way around that is you make sure that you put ingredients into your shake that will cleave that estrogen and remove it from the body. And so there's an ingredient called Preventium, which is a potassium diglucarate compound that has been researched to help to cleave that estrogen and metabolize it out of the body and help those estrogens, those inflammatory estrogens, to exit the body as opposed to recirculating. So it's a very mindful ingredient.
Will you say that ingredient name one more time?
Preventium is the ingredient.
And it is?
It's known as potassium diglucarate.
Okay. And potassium diglucarate, there's a ton of research on that product. People are selling those in a supplement itself, and they're using it for a lot of different reasons.
Interestingly enough, the dose that you're using is the dose that they sell by itself.
Yeah, I know.
Per shake.
So in that dose, there's lots of research about the product. There's lots of research. And I want to just drill this one more time in is it's not just that we're using that, it's the source that we're using and the formulation that we're using. And tell us why that's so important, because I'm seeing it in a bottle right now and I'm turning the bottle around. It's very trendy and very popular right now. And it breaks my heart because the source that a lot of manufacturers are using, a lot of supplement distributors are using, the bottle has to cost more than the raw ingredient, I'm convinced, right? So we're using the therapeutic level in our shake in a serving, and it's in the best form.
You're using it in the form that was researched,
Right.
I call that predictability.
Right.
When you go on Google and you type in potassium deglucarate, a number of different ingredients are going to come up.
Right.
But only one of them, Preventium, has the clinical research for glucuronidation and the cleaving of estrogen from the body.
Right.
And so people can put that flashy potassium deglucarate on their bottle, on the label, but in reality, they're not using the clinical form, and so they're not getting predictive results. You're guessing with the results you're going to get, as opposed to leaning heavily on the scientific research.
I want to take a really quick break to get you guys some information that I think you're going to need. Hey guys, it's Haylie. This is a lot of stuff we're processing through, and right about now you may have some questions. If you go to HayliePomroy.com/join me, I would love to give you a 30-day free trial of our member community. This is where you go to get your questions answered. I'm there, my team's there, and we can really support you through your specific metabolism journey. You know what drives me crazy about that? Because I'm a scientist, right? So I'm always saying, where's the proof? Where's the proof? Where's the proof? And I know that investing in your health is expensive. And so one thing that really frustrates me about that is a lot of these companies use the science, the white papers, right, as part of their marketing, but then they're not using the source that was researched. It's like a pet peeve of mine. I just want to scream from the rooftops and go, wait a minute, in your marketing material, you're using the Preventium research or you're using the quatrefolate research, but you're not using that ingredient. And there's nothing preventing people from doing that.
This industry is like the Wild West. People can do a lot. People can do a lot of things that don't have health in mind. They have profit in mind.
Right. I want to remind everybody that we're still just talking about one of my products. We're just talking about the metabolism shake right now. We have not gone through an entire supplement line, even though it sounds like we have. We're still talking about what's in just these 2 scoops that I want to make sure you get at least once a day in. There's a couple other ingredients that I want to call out. I mean, NAC and acetylcysteine. We have rutin, which is another anti-inflammatory. From a digestive perspective, our ginger's really helpful. Is there anything else? Like, we're really neurotic about our kale. Our spirulina is, people that are taking spirulina is, I'm a huge advocate. Phenomenal. My body just loves it. It is a very dirty raw ingredient. And so make sure if you're doing anything that has spirulina, kale, spinach, arugula, that you are always requiring that company has third-party testing. I mean, it is dirty, 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 dirty. It is so good when it's clean.
Imagine you're a patient who has a susceptibility to yeast and mold, right? And then you take a shake, you take a formula that's supposed to help you with that condition, and the actual ingredient has mold in it and has yeast in it. I mean, could you imagine?
Imagine I'm in clinical practice. It happens all the time. You know, people say I'm taking this shake and I get gas and bloating, or they have the rashes on the back of their arms, or they're not my favorite one, but the one I see all the time with so many vegan protein powders is their antithyroid antibody or their peroxidase goes through the roof, or they have a stable TSH, and everything on a symptom for not utilizing your thyroid hormones is like plus, check, 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 check. Then I'm like, okay, what vegan protein powder are you taking? I mean, I cannot tell you how many times when we pull that out of individual that comes in, how much is resolved because they're putting something in on a regular basis that's actually perpetuating the problem. It's just heartbreaking. I don't have to imagine it. I live it in the clinical environment all the time. So you want to talk a little bit about the minerals. Minerals are so important in the immune system, so important, obviously, in the inflammatory realm, but bone density, healthy teeth, gums, thyroid hormones. Talk to me a little bit about how crazy our minerals are.
Yeah, minerals are, everybody goes, oh, great. This is the boring part. Minerals are boring. I know what magnesium is. I don't need to hear about it. The reality is that when you use a shake or when you eat foods, the form of minerals is so important.
Yeah.
Is so important because when you're taking a protein and you're taking a fiber and you're taking a whole food shake, that protein, that fiber competes with mineral absorption.
Yes.
So if you use poor minerals,
Can
your
we
body
say
will
this
not
again?
absorb those. If you use poor minerals, the body will not absorb those minerals when you put them in a shake. It is
So
the epitome of window dressing.
Thank you. I would just want to say that again for our community because this is huge. A lot of times people just don't care enough about the minerals that you put in a protein supplement. Or if you're supplementing with minerals in combination with a meal that has a protein, a vegetable, a complex carbohydrate, or a fruit. So if you have a whole food product and a supplemented mineral, there is so much that can be inhibited in the absorption of that mineral and actually can inhibit the metabolism of the protein itself, making it stressful on the liver, making it very stressful on the kidneys, right? So this is one that, to your point, it's not a sexy topic, right? It's not hip and trendy to talk about this. But if you're looking at the end result or the clinical expression of your consumer, of your client, of my loved ones, which are my consumers and my clients, right? This is so important when you're formulating. So can you explain what happens, how they can counteract and actually not only just inhibit you from getting what you should out of your shake, right? But also inhibit you from metabolizing what you've just eaten as a food.
Right. Well, if you're competing for absorption by consuming a protein and a carbohydrate and herbals and things like that, your minerals need hydrochloric acid and enzymes to be broken down and absorbed into the bloodstream.
Right.
But if you use a form of minerals that are researched by Albion, a true amino acid chelates, you don't require hydrochloric acid and enzymes to absorb them and utilize them, and they don't compete with absorption of the protein. And so the minerals that you have in here, magnesium, zinc, manganese, chromium, molybdenum, these different ingredients, iron, if they're not in a true amino acid chelate format, they aren't absorbed. What do I mean by true amino acid chelate? Well, so they take these minerals and they bind them to an amino acid, and that's called a true amino acid chelate. And the company that does that is called Albion. It's the world's leader in bound amino acid chelates. Many of the companies in this space know that, and they put one mineral, usually magnesium, and they call it an amino acid chelate, and they don't put Albion on their label because they're not getting it from Albion, because Albion's 5 times more expensive than the other amino acid companies.
Right.
Well, not only do they do that, they put magnesium, but they don't put all the other ingredients or the other minerals like zinc and selenium and manganese and chromium and molybdenum and iron. They just put one ingredient and they say, oh, our formula has amino acid chelates. They say,
or chelated minerals on their label.
It has a chelated mineral, and they only have one mineral, only one of them. And they don't have the Albion chelate in there. They're not using the Albion chelate. They're using some cheap synthetic non-bound amino acid chelate. They just took an amino acid, they took a mineral, they put it in a barrel, they mixed it up, and they called it an amino acid chelate. That's not a bound amino acid chelate.
I know.
And
it's all over the place. I'm going to say that again.
Even in the prescriptive market, they're even more mischievous, and they make it look like they're all amino acid chelates, and they're just not. They're not.
And Matthew, it is all over the place. We see this all the time. And it's, again, one of those things when we are reviewing, every time we're formulating and we're reviewing all of this, and we're saying, is there anything that's better in the world? Is there anything that's better on the market? You know, the conversation, I have to tell you, comes up all the time about the minerals that we put in because they're so expensive. But our bodies are not a simple put in and put out, right? It's not what you just put in your body. It's how you metabolize it. It's the metabolic pathways. It's the capacity for healing. It's addressing the areas where our metabolism has gotten out of balance, where we've created this homeostasis in a state of dysfunction, inflammatory, autoimmune, cancers, all of those types of things. So in our metabolism shake, we wanted to make sure, I'll tell you a little bit of the motivation behind this. I wanted to make sure that when you're consuming 22 grams of highly absorbable protein, right? So your body has the capacity to actually break it down into amino acids, convert it into tissue, convert it into energy. I wanted to make sure that that didn't interfere with other metabolic pathways. And so it was really critical to me. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but sometimes protein powders can get away with it if they're like 8 grams, 10 grams, maybe even 12 grams of protein, of not having cofactors, co-minerals, not having things in it to help the body be able to metabolize it, absorb it, and it not inhibit other things. But when we're using this, as complex as this shake is, when we have whole food ingredients, when we have herbal ingredients, when we have pre and probiotics, when we have amino acids, when we have minerals, and we're working with this kind of cascade of metabolic pathways all in one shake, it was really important to me that we sourced a chelated mineral compound and not just one, again, because when we do one and it's not blended and it's not a state of homeostasis and it doesn't look at the metabolism, right? So many supplements look at a reductionistic approach to supporting the body. And that's what we call this, a complete powder, right? Because we want to look at supporting many different metabolic pathways. Okay, so someone's going.
Haylie, I was just going to say it's on your label. And so your consumers can look at the label and it says Albion. Dimagnesium malate. It says on the label, it says Trax, Albion, zinc. I mean, if it's not on your label, if you're a consumer and you're looking at these formulas in the market, they say they're amino acid chelates and it doesn't say Albion and it doesn't say TRAACS, it's not Albion.
Exactly. And I was just going to say, if someone's walking down the aisle at Costco or Whole Foods and they're looking for a protein powder, if the manufacturer is investing in these kinds of quality raw ingredients, and this is what I do when I put this formula together, I say, okay, who can I lean on to search the world? I go globally, right? And then I check the checker. I third-party test everything. Even though I'm buying the best thing I could possibly buy for my community, I still do, which, like you said, less than 1% in the States do this. I still do third-party checking. I call it checking the checker. I just want to make sure because I got my name on it and I have my heart in it too. So a person's going through Costco, a person's going through Whole Foods, they turn the bottle around, maybe it's really sexy label on the front, it says it's got turmeric, let's say it says it's got spirulina, let's say it's got, chelated amino acids. You want to look for those patented ingredients that are called out on the label because you know that then your manufacturer, like us, right, like what we do, is they're buying the best that's possible because if they're paying for that, you better believe they're going to put it on the bottle.
It would be like driving a Mercedes and taking all of the emblems off the car.
Yeah.
Who would do that? I mean, who would spend all that money to buy a Range Rover and then you say, you know what? I'm just going to take all the emblems off.
And you say this to me all the time. Haylie, you realize you're the only one that's doing this. I mean, you do realize you're the only one that's doing this. You feel confident saying that?
You are the only one doing it. That doesn't exist. It doesn't make sense financially. If you're talking about the financials of it, you're talking about dollars and cents, profit and loss. It doesn't make sense. You could charge the same amount for your shake and strip the ingredients, and you could make it for half the price that you make it for if you took these proprietary ingredients out.
I know. But you
wouldn't get the results.
I know. And also, this was not the path I wanted to be on by any stretch of the imagination. My community knows I was going to vet school, right? I had a health crisis that just completely took me to my knees, just rocked my world. And if I hadn't just changed my paradigm, my life choices, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I'm thriving. I feel amazing. I have tons and tons of energy. And it wasn't because of the 60 to 80 milligrams of prednisone I was on. It wasn't the anti-rejection drugs that I was on. None of those got me quality of life. Even if they saved my life temporarily, if we want to go there, which I don't know if I ever will, they did not enhance the quality of my life. They did not give me the ability to have children. They did not give me the ability to live a full and rich life. And it was nutraceuticals and it was food that did that for me. And so it wasn't from a place of, I think I want to start a supplement business. As a matter of fact, you and I have had many heart-to-hearts about what are you doing and why are you doing this? This took me from my knees to being able to change the lives of so many people. And so I'm not going any other path. And I just wanted to have the opportunity because I'm not good at this. I'm not good at always explaining the why. But you and I have so many conversations about it, and you're so supportive of it that I really appreciate you helping me articulate this to my community effectively. I just want the best, and I appreciate this.
I think your why is your patience. Your why is you want to get the results that you know you can get. And I think if you knew you didn't put all of the ingredients that you know work into the formula, you wouldn't be attaining your mission. You wouldn't be attaining your goal, and your why would be destroyed. So it's more important than profit and loss. This is why these pharmaceutical companies are buying up all these nutraceutical companies, because they can see that they can strip the formulas down and make hundreds and hundreds of dollars more per bottle.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. It is the craziest things. I mean, so in my clinic, I carry other people's stuff too. If I can't do it better, I don't want to do it. It's a lot of work and a lot of tapping into my neurosis, right? But so many companies that I've used clinically even, and let alone the ones on the shelves at Whole Foods and Vitamin Cottage and stuff, they're being snatched up left and right. And in the last 5 years, it's crazy. So why are these pharmaceutical companies buying these supplement companies? And literally, so there's this product that one of my clients has used for years, and she feels really convicted about the message of the company and stuff. And I'm like, hey, more power to you. It's awesome. Well, she came in and she goes, look at the bottle's different and something's different. And we looked at the ingredients. Not only did they change where they were sourcing, but they went from 17 nutrients, 17 lines, right, to 8. And they didn't say, I mean, you can't say new and improved, right? They didn't say new and stripped down. They marketed it the same way.
Right. Because their mission and their why isn't to get people better, but rather to make profit. And so these pharmaceutical companies look at companies that are mom and pop or that are privately owned, and they say, well, I can do that better. I can make that formula for, if it costs $20 to make, I can make it for $8. It has a brand, it has a name, it has an identity. I can make it for $8. I'll still sell it for $40. And all of the board of advisors and the board and all of the executives are going to make it be very lucrative and make a ton of money. Who cares if the patient doesn't get any benefit? It's all kind of, I don't know. It's all made up anyway, right?
They'll just sell them the pharmaceutical once they don't after. So they've got a consumer. If they actually have a consumer, I didn't even think about this. They actually have a consumer on the back end. If it doesn't work, then they've got another option for them. Not to be cynical, but so one of the companies that I have loved, and it's 32 years, I got a letter. I've actually been buying stuff from them for 32 years. They're out of business. They went out of business over the COVID situation, and they just got purchased. And nobody knows about it. And these people have built this phenomenal reputation in being whole food based, all vegan, really, really clean. You see them in every health food store, and they just got bought out. And it's kind of crazy. That just blows my mind. I want to get back to the metabolism shake really quick. We could go line by line. I don't want to bore anybody. I really want to make sure that people understand that tons of care and quality and testing. And again, I want to drive just one more time home, even though I am neurotic about where we source, and I only lean on people like yourselves that can access things for me. I go 10 steps further, and I do third-party testing. And my hope is that we continue to be able to supply our consumer, our community, my friends, my family, my loved ones with the world's best shake, the most digestible, the most absorbable, the most complex from a metabolism healing perspective. But if they're looking at something, make sure it's third-party testing. Make sure that your protein powder comes from, well, I guess it's hard to get it from where we get it from. It's virtually impossible. I hate to keep using the word neurotic. So conscientious about that. And I have to say, we're cost competitive. I mean, fortunately, we are a small business. We are a family-owned business. We don't have a huge team that we don't do. Obviously, we're not that great at it. We don't do these huge marketing firms and huge marketing budgets. So that's how we're making this available to the world, right? Is by running it a little different model. You've been in this space, and you don't just do this for me. Like, I don't want people to think, you're part of our business or anything of that nature, but I really appreciate there's nobody else that's got this type of supportive product out there.
It doesn't exist. And I just wanted to mention that people are probably listening and maybe never tried the shake or don't know what it tastes like. And what we've just described right there, probably to you sounds like it's going to be terrible tasting, which is part of the art form of manufacturing, by the way, is taking all of these complex nutrients that probably on their own don't taste very good and making it taste palatable and people want to take it. I think your shake tastes amazing. I mean, for all of these ingredients, it's very hard to make it taste good. And I think it tastes great.
Thank you. We
never talk about that though, right?
No, we don't. We worked so hard on that. I don't know how many renditions we went through in this process, but thank you. It does taste great. And it's really funny because you feel the benefit of it really quickly too. And I know that that's digestibility and absorbability and potency and efficacy. I know all of that goes in. I'm never on a plane without this. I am never around the world without this. I travel like crazy. My kids, the other day, you'll appreciate this. I went to my daughter's house that I posted for our community. I don't know if I should be mad or proud. I went and I was helping her with dishes, and there were 6 metabolism shake bottles, and they stink when they're dirty for a week.
Don't leave them in your car.
Yeah, she's left them in the car. She had cleaned out her car, and there were 6, right? They were empty, but they had enough residual in them. And as I'm scrubbing them out, I was like, oh my goodness, my daughter. And I was so frustrated. And I went, wait a minute. My 20-year-old is doing 2 scoops every single morning, right? She's a professional athlete. My son, it was so funny when he was in college. I don't know if I shared this with you. he was walking across campus in Connecticut and he heard someone, this little shake sound that we're all familiar with. And he looked over and a girl that he did not know at all on the college campus was drinking a metabolism shake. And he had shared with me that the mom, sends her bottles and says, look, college kids don't get enough fruits and vegetables and highly absorbable protein. And they're really dealing with hormones and stress and stuff like that. I had another funny story. I was actually flying on a plane to Manhattan, to New York. And I went up to use the ladies' room and I didn't notice my client at first, but I just saw somebody shaking a shake in their hand. And it was so cute because I'm like, hey, what are you drinking? And they were drinking a shake. True story. 2 rows behind on the left was another client of mine that quickly opened her bag and showed us her shake. That was hilarious. And then another funny story is I was flying on a plane. I was flying with a friend of mine. And she finished her shake and threw it in her bag. Right as she threw it in her bag, this man that was standing in line said, oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's my wife's favorite brand. She's like a super fan and all, tell her all this story. And I'm standing right behind my friend and my friend goes, hey, why don't you snap a picture? This is Haylie right here. Why don't you guys snap a picture? And we snapped a picture and he texted it to her right before we got on the plane. And it was so cute because my friend's was empty. Mine wasn't empty yet, but we all had our shaker bottles. So it's been a movement. It's been a grassroots movement. It's been a labor of love for sure. There's a lot of other products out there that have fabulous marketing. There's one green shake product right now that is just, I just go, oh my gosh, I wish we had their marketing. They just do such a fabulous job of communicating what's in their product. And I look at, of course I research these things and I turn around, I look at where they're sourcing it and it breaks my heart. It just really breaks my heart because I go, just have more than you could possibly brag about. Have more in there that you could possibly brag about. That's my goal. So anything else that you think Eland, anything else? I don't want to call out Athletics Greens specifically, Eland, just because we could get in trouble.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Well, just so that on Athletic Greens, just so you know, I was kind of talking about them when I was talking about other companies.
Yeah.
So their Athletic Greens formula just has methylcobalamin, no other activated Bs. And it just has magnesium chelate, not an Albion amino acid chelate, but
okay.
They call it chelate.
So there's a product right now that everybody's talking about, right? And I feel like it kind of falls into some of the things that you talked about, like with the methylated B vitamins, with the chelated minerals. I don't wish that they would stop marketing like crazy. I wish they would just add those ingredients in because they're selling millions of bottles. And I want people to realize the benefits. So are you seeing that?
It's very common. And they use the marketing. It's a victory for marketing, not for science. So what they do is they market the fact that they have activated B vitamins, and then they just put one activated B in there.
Not the complex.
Advertise that it's an amino acid chelated formula and the minerals are amino acid chelates, and they only put one ingredient in there that's a chelate. And they don't call it out as a true amino acid chelate from Albion, and they don't call out the ingredient sourcing as far as quatrefolate or where it comes from. So they're marketing to you and captivating you by the science, but they're only marketing to you. They're not delivering the scientific part. And that's frustrating. And there's companies that are doing $50 million, $100 million in business every year that are very popular in the market that just don't have the ingredients that they are marketing.
Wow. Well, it is a dream of mine to not stay so small because I know every bottle we get into people's hands is a life that we have the opportunity to change. If we have to stay small in order to stay with our values and our quality, then so be it. My dream is to grow because every single time we deliver one of these, there is going to be a story and a trajectory that's changed on the other end. But I will never sacrifice science for the marketing victory. I love the way that you explain that to me. Anything else that we want to add in there?
The only thing that I would add would be kind of like putting a bow on it, talking about how and when and why and who should be taking this.
Okay. So we talk a lot about, we use this shake as a daily meal or 2 or 3 meal replacement. We use this shake as the cornerstone of our 10-day cleanse, our 5-day cleanse, our metabolism revolution program. In phase 3 of the Fast Metabolism Diet, when we're really working on hormone metabolism, who should utilize this product? What's the consumer out there that this is going to make a difference in their life? What kind of people do you think this would really, really make a change? Because that's our goal.
Well, certainly outside of your groups that you have, that they're on a specific program. I mean, this is the basis of those programs, right? They're using it as their meal more than once a day, twice, 3 times a day in some instances, and they're using it for a set period of time for a specific reason. Inflammation, metabolism, detoxification, those are all buzzwords and highly effective. But outside of the programs, people should be using this shake on a daily basis just to be a foundation nutrient formula that they're using to quiet down inflammation, to help with detoxification, to help with digestion, to help with getting adequate amounts of protein in the body. This is the shake that people should be using at least for breakfast, or at least for that post-lunch, pre-dinner, snack that they should be using on a daily basis. And so you don't really have to have a category. Man, woman, child. I mean, everyone could benefit from it just from a physiologic standpoint, not necessarily for a condition base. But we talked earlier about inflammation being the root cause of most diseases. Well, this is the most anti-inflammatory thing you can consume on a daily basis.
Wow, I agree. But coming from someone like you, I really, really appreciate that. I really do. It's what we give everybody during the holidays. We give the kids, teachers, our staff is allowed to give out to their loved ones, to their friends, whenever we have holiday parties and we do the Secret Santa or the white elephant gift. It's the one that people kind of dogpile and fight over. It's really powerful. And I love that people feel and realize and recognize that. So yeah, many of my friends, family, our community do 1 to 2 shakes a day just because of the lack of food quality, because of the chemical and toxic exposures that they have every day, because of the tremendous stress that people are under, because of dysbiosis in the gut, the lack of ability to absorb nutrients effectively. If you're investing in any kind of high quality foods, organics, things like that, you want to make sure that your metabolic pathways are efficient so that you can actually realize and recognize that investment. I had a client the other day that says, I eat all organic foods. I'm super vigilant about it. Why would I need to use that as a meal replacement? And we talk about nutrient delivery, about red blood cell development, about the ability to digest and absorb the food that you're consuming, and how much this therapeutic shake can help your body actually enhance and maximize. This is why I use it for my professional athletes, for my kids that are in college now or graduated from college now, for myself. It's just been a really powerful thing in our world. So I just can't thank you enough for just chatting with all of us. And we're going to do more of this, because everything that I'm willing to put my name on has more ingredients that are tested, clean, pure, potent than anything out there. And even, I think, more importantly than that, it has more intention, more love, and more checking the checker, right? I will never stop this mission. It's changed my life. It's changed the life of my friends, my loved ones, and our community. And I cannot thank you enough for just kind of teasing some of this information. I've been accused many times about being not great in the marketing world and too neurotic about what I put in the bottle, and not focusing enough on sharing the message of what's in the bottle.
Well, I appreciate having me. It was very fun.
All right. We will talk soon. You know it.
All right.
All right. Talk soon. Thank you. Wow. That was quite the conversation. I need help sometimes articulating how special the metabolism shake is. I want you guys to know that every single decision and every ingredient in every single one of the products that have my name on them has been looked at, has been reviewed, has been tested over and over and over again. And if I can't do the very best that I know is on the market, then I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to put my name on the label. It was so great to kind of talk about the industry as a whole. He doesn't just procure product for me or my company. In fact, I'm probably one of his smallest companies that he helps facilitate creating supplements that are available to consumers. But we've had this really special relationship because he has held sacred my personal mission, which is to never look at the finances of what I want to create in any of my products. And the Metabolism Shake has been created on purpose, with love, and with the best ingredients that you can buy globally. He said it over and over again. I know it. I feel it with every cell within my body. There's nothing in the world right now like this product. And if there is, that's great. I get to go retire when there does, right? I don't have to be on this crazy mission. But until then, I want you to know that every single scoop has been thought about, has been methodically put together, has been tested over and over and over again. I know that when you invest in your health, that you are on a journey that you probably wish you weren't on. And I am so lucky, fortunate, blessed to be able to be your partner on this journey. And I don't take that lightly. So we all, as our community, love the Metabolism Shake, but I just wanted to kind of share with you a little bit at least, about how it came about, why it's so special. And I want you to know that when you consume the Metabolism Shake, we are with you every single scoop you take.